Welcome everyone here to the Smash Evening Show right here on Smash FM here on a Wednesday morning here in Melbourne. Of course, let's head back to our friends over in the US in particular, and of course, and speak with a music artist over there. Of course, her name is Jennifer. She joins us right now. Thanks, Jennifer, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
No worries. Well, tell us, I guess, a bit about how you got involved in music and especially where the love came from.
So my name's Jennifer Alvarado. Like you mentioned, I'm from the United States. I'm from North Carolina, and I also am part-time in Nashville working on stuff. I have been doing music for a while, didn't really go into full-time music and start releasing the country stuff until probably 2020, where I think a lot of people made changes and finally started going for things. And basically, I've been playing music my whole life. I think growing up with my grandparents a lot, they listened to a lot of different country artists. And so that's sort of what I fell in love with and started telling stories at probably 4 or 5 years old as far as with music and writing songs. And my papaw got me involved with playing mandolin and guitar and stuff like that. And so it just kind of grew over time to where I did a lot of work in the church as a worship leader and then started releasing my own music in 2015 around that time. Started as a Christian artist and made the switch over to country and pop, more country pop related music when I was, uh, in 2020.
You mentioned before, we've talked a bit about your current um, single at the moment, which is Colorado. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so it is the first single off of a project that I'm working on right now. And it actually came out a while back, and I took a detour a little bit because I got chosen for a artist program, and I'm actually started working on a separate project at the same time that's more related to mental health. And so it came up at a really good time where I felt like the purpose behind that project mattered enough to kind of put the first one on hold and say, okay, we'll come back to that. So I'm finally back to it. And it's going to be part of a project called Map of Broken Hearts, which is it's kind of more of an old school 90s country vibe to it. That's really what I grew up with and fell in love with was, people like Dina Carter and Reba and Martina McBride and all of that. That's who made me want to sing and made me want to write. And so I really wanted to get back to just that nostalgic sound that I feel like 90s country has. So Colorado is the first single off of that project and working on the next single right now. Just did vocals today for that and should be out soon.
How's the reactions been like to Colorado?
So my husband jokes and swears that because there's a line in there that says "Damn you, Colorado," and of course Colorado rhymes with Alvarado, so he swears that I wrote that song about him, and I was like, no, I did not. Um, it's overall it's been good, other than his reaction, but I mean he's just joking, but yeah, overall I think people really like it. The kind of the reason I wrote that and the story behind it was I don't know if you know Dan and Shay's Tequila. I feel like everybody knows that song. But when I first heard that song, I fell in love with it. But there was so many questions that I had with that song. And just like, okay, if it was that perfect, what happened? And so I really wanted to write Colorado as a response to that song to say, this is actually what happened. This is the story behind the story of why it all went south. And so when I wrote that song, I brought in my friend Molly Hanson, who also is a writer on it, and kind of just said, hey, how can we make a nod back to tequila without it not being tequila? So that's where that story came from.
Mentioned about you got your next one coming up in actually next month, that or late next month, in
Mhm.
March. How's that traveling?
So as of right now, we're still on track to have it out by then. Like I said, did vocals on Something About a Boy today. So I'm hoping that in the next week or so, I will get the final cut of that. And then we can make a plan because so much of music and as an indie artist, it's about making plans and trying to get it all to add up.
What's the plan for the rest of the 2025 calendar year?
Yeah, so I'm actually waiting to hear about a few festivals. I'm hoping there's a few festivals that are coming up. One is a songwriter festival that's pretty big in this area, which I'm hoping that I get to participate in that time wise if all the dates work out with the schedule I already have. But also touring quite a bit, back and forth to Nashville, like I said, with doing co-writes and shows up there. Um, and then also just trying to finish up projects. That's the big thing. I've spent the past few years really trying to hone my craft and get out there and gig and kind of get my name out there, if you will. And it's great, but it also takes away from the creative side because you're never home, so you never get anything recorded and out. And so that's really what I'm hoping this year is trying to get that stuff done and out and um, find a balance. I think everybody tries to find a balance. But yeah, it would be nice to find that balance of the creative time and then actually going out and the gigs and all of that.
You mentioned that you're from North Carolina and you do
Yes.
partially go to Tennessee. How do you juggle that going from Tennessee to North Carolina and obviously back again?
Yeah, well, luckily I have a wonderful husband who is supportive and picks up a lot of slack when it comes to what I cannot take care of at home. So he's been very supportive of that. Luckily, too, so I'm a worship leader also. And so I've tried to figure out my schedule, and they've been very good about working with me on my schedule too, so that I'm able to basically spend weeks like actual work weeks up in Tennessee to work on writing and all of that, but then be home on the weekends for gigs around here. Or I also tour up through Virginia and South Carolina and some of the other states. And so just it's really just sort of a puzzle of trying to fit it all in and actually have a few days at least home and with my husband.
Now let's talk a bit about your music journey. You mentioned about where the love of music commenced. What does it mean to you now?
Music for me has always been like that friend. I was an only child growing up. I was also extremely shy, and so for music, it was my outlet. It was very much therapy for me. It was the way that I kind of got my thoughts and feelings out, and I think it still is. I think it's changed a little bit because I see the power in it now, and I know that growing up, there would be artists and songs that would speak to me, and it felt like they knew exactly what was going on in my life. And so that's really what I've tried to do with my music as well. That's what I want it to be, is that sounding board for somebody else, but also that reminder to somebody else that you're not alone, that there's always somebody who maybe hasn't been through the exact same thing as you, but those feelings are very close, and you're not the only one feeling a certain way. You're not alone in how you feel. And so for me, that's what music is. It's that universal connection between all of us, that we have a friend, that we have somebody who will understand what's going on.
We mentioned about what your plans are for the
Mm-hmm.
rest of the 2025 calendar year. Do you have any
Yeah,
long-term goals past this year?
I always have goals. I think you have to have goals. Yeah, of course, there's bucket list items. I still want to play at the Bluebird at some point, which is one of those key songwriting venues in Nashville. I still want to play the Ryman and the Grand Ole Opry one day. Um, Still want to go on a major tour and those things. So yeah, there's those mile marker goals that I think every artist has. But I also think just I I want to keep trying to be a voice of hope and that kind of thing. So, and then I also just want to be humble about it. Like I never want to. I think, and luckily, I think I have the right people around me that will always not kind of be like, no, you're really not that great. Like just keep it down,
Yeah.
and speak some humility back into me if I would ever get a big head. So, yeah, I think that's the main thing is just to keep creating music that I really believe in, and to keep, even if it's one person that gets something out of it, like that one person matters, and I want to make sure that they know they matter.
You mentioned before about, you know, or what the love of music meant to you. Obviously, you had an amazing resume in accolades that you've achieved. Out of those achievements that you've already have,
Mm-hmm.
which one means a little bit more to you?
Probably the ISR Country Artist of the Year. It was my very first like award, I guess, for this. And I think back to where I was around that time. I went through, and I think a lot of people did during the pandemic and stuff like that. You question a lot of things, and so I was coming out of a difficult situation job wise that I thought was going to be the rest of my life and my career and whatever else. And I was left really kind of just lost with what I was doing, and felt like, okay, well, maybe music is not for me. Maybe I need to just put this on the shelf and not do anything with it. And of course, then the pandemic came around, and I was like, well, may as well try. And so for me, that's really what that award means, is that it was like a second chance. It was me finally putting myself out there, and getting a good response from it, and seeing the support that I do have, because I was in a place where I just couldn't see it. I couldn't see that people cared, that people um, liked what I was doing, any of that. It was just a very dark time. And so it really did sort of bring me out of that and help me to see the potential that I do have and that is there with my music. So I think that's probably the one that I'll always go back to as the most important.
Now, you were named one to watch by the National Songwriters Association the last 4 years, in
Mhm.
21, 22, and last year.
Mhm.
What did that mean to you?
Hopefully, I mean, I think for the most part, it's like, okay, maybe you're doing a little something right, that you're kind of on the right track. I never take it too much to heart because I feel like there's always room to grow. And so I always want to keep growing and keep getting better. So even with that, it's a step in the journey, but there's still more steps. There's still another level that I want to get to. So yes, I'm proud of that. And I'm honored to be named that. Um, but I still see that there's a lot of work to be done.
Now, you also were nominated for the 2024 JC Award for Holiday Album and Holiday Song of the Year.
Uh-huh.
Most would tell us which one was your album and which one was your song of the year that you got nominated at the JC Award last year.
So it was actually the holiday. So I had a holiday EP that came out at the end of 2023, I believe, called Christmas in Carolina. And so it was that EP, and then also the title single Christmas in Carolina off of that EP.
So, how special was it? And I'm assuming you went to the JC Award last year. I'm assuming.
I did not. I actually, I did not. I'm so sorry. No, I had a show that day. It always that October is always a very difficult time of the year because like I've always got a bunch of shows during that period of time, and so like I think I was in Virginia maybe that week or something. I wasn't home. I don't know where I was, but yeah, I didn't go.
Oh. Now, our Aussie fans are wondering, are you coming down to the land down under?
I will come anytime. If yeah, you find me places to play, I will be there. I just need to get my passport updated. But yeah, I would love to. Australia, like that's been one of my like bucket list places to go. So I will come anytime.
Now, obviously, you've had amazing fans as well. What's your like top, other than the US? What was your top five countries that you had?
I'm pretty sure it's Canada, then the UK, and maybe Germany and Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know Filthy Water, for example, did really, really well like on Spotify in Germany for some reason. Which Filthy Water is like one of my angstiest songs. So I was like, what's happening over in Germany? Like what's the deal? But anyway, so yeah, I'm pretty sure Canada is next, and then probably UK. Um, I don't know. I haven't looked lately, honestly.
So, have you actually gone to the UK or Germany? Considering obviously those two have been fantastic listeners, especially in music, not just in Europe, but obviously tuning into a lot of US stuff.
But no, I haven't. I, I have talked about going to Canada, and doing some shows up there. I still would love to go to the UK. I'm that person. I will go anywhere that calls me and tells me to come sing. So within reason, and as long as it's safe. But yeah, like I would love to visit those places, and just there's, I mean, especially London and Prague, and there's so much history. Um, so yeah, I am up to go anywhere.
Now we'll finish with these last couple. What would be your advice to people that think about writing music or even performing?
I think my biggest thing is to keep going. It's very easy. It's very easy to get discouraged, especially if it's not just over. Everybody thinks something is overnight, like it goes viral and everything's overnight and whatever. And that's just not the case. It can happen, but for the most part, it's a lot of hard work, and you've got to be willing to do the hard work. And so I would just say keep going. Don't, you know, listen to people, especially those that care about you and that are trying to speak truth to you, but also know that they still can't tell you exactly what's going to happen or anything like that. And I think for a long time I allowed other people to kind of speak truth, or not even truth, just speak what I thought was truth into my life. And it wasn't. It was discouragement. It was my parents are very rational, for example, and so to do a career in music, it's like no, that's not normal. And no, it's not normal. It's a hard road, and I'm not gonna lie and tell you it's not, but it's worth the journey, and it's worth some of the heartache. It's worth um, the continuous like rat race that it is sometimes. So you've got to be ready for that. You can't just expect that you're going to become this viral sensation and sell out arenas and everything in a week span like that. It just doesn't work that way. When they say it's an overnight success, it's usually like a 10-year thing. And I think that's the biggest thing is don't expect to do hard work. You've got to expect to do hard work and have that work ethic.
Do you prefer writing songs or performing? As silly as that question sounds.
I prefer writing. That's not a silly question at all. I think some people do prefer the performance, and there's some days that I prefer to get out there and perform. But for the most part, writing has always had my heart. Like that's at the end of the day, I would much rather sit down and write a song than go out and sing for 3 hours. Like I want to be able to just write and put something out there that's going to mean something to somebody.
Hmm. Now we'll finish with a couple of light-hearted questions as well, which is,
Yeah.
do you have any pre-performance superstition, ritual, or routine?
Okay. Well, no, I don't have a superstition. Well, kind of, maybe. Okay. One superstition, I never eat before I sing. Like, I just don't. Um, I don't know. Like, I got that way a long time ago, and now that's just my thing. But I think the biggest routine, and this is going to be weird, on my way to shows, I listen to true crime podcasts. Like, I listen to really like in-depth, um, brutal crime podcast and true crime and all that. And so then I get there and I'm like, huh. And then I'm just ready to sing because it's like, okay, let's come up from this low. So yeah, I think that's my biggest one is I am obsessed with true crime, and that's what I listen to for the most part.
I know I've always asked this question to all the music artists I've had on the show.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, have you ever forgotten a lyric to a song? And if so, how have you tried to cover up without giving too much away?
Oh, honestly, it's about 50-50. So the most of the songs I forget are ones I've written. It's very hard for me to, if I'm covering a song, no problem. If it's my song, I'm sitting there thinking like, why didn't I say it this way to begin with? So half the time I'm like making up words on the fly. I will say the worst time I was doing a live television show and completely blanked on like the first, may have been the first chorus. And so I just made up words. And I'm not really sure what I even said. Like, I didn't even go back and listen to it because I thought, I don't want to know. I just don't want to know. I'll be oblivious. So, yeah, I've done that. I've done that several times. I've picked words and like repeated them. Um, yeah, yeah, I think everybody has at some point.
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by this answer because all the music artists I've had on the show just mentioned exactly the same thing where they've forgotten a song, they've forgotten about their own lyric to their own song. I guess I want to ask, why do you think that's the case?
I think you go into autopilot for some, like sometimes you go into autopilot. For me, I'm more nervous about my own songs because you're thinking like 15 different things, or at least I am. Like, I'm over there thinking like, do they like this song? Is this even the right lyric? Like, what am I having for supper after this? Like, I'm thinking all these things. And so then, like, all of a sudden, it's like, oh, crap, I just forgot. Like, where am I in this? Like, I've done it on Colorado. I was singing Colorado, and my husband just looked at me because I completely got off the song and started singing something else and like went back to it. And he was like, had a little trouble there, didn't you? And I was like, yep, did. That's the remix. Like, you just laugh it off and keep going. But oh yeah, like, I don't know. I really think it's just I start thinking about 15 other things, and yeah.
And we'll finish with this two-part question, which is for anyone that should follow your music, either on their streaming services or even on the socials, how can I go about it?
Yeah, so definitely check out my website. It's jenniferalvarado.com. Or check me out on socials. Let's see, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of that stuff is at Jennifer Alvarado Music. Um, or I'm trying to think where else. I mean, look me up on Spotify, Apple, all of the streaming services. That is just Jennifer Alvarado.
Well, Jennifer, it is so awesome to have you on the show. Obviously, we'll probably get a chance to have a chat with you in a couple of months' time to have a chat with the latest one that will be coming out in late March. And can't wait to hear that song in particular. Of course, I did actually hear Colorado, which is a fantastic song as well. So obviously, make sure you check that out as well. But Jennifer, thank you so much. And and can't wait to have a chat with you in a couple months' time.
Yeah, thank you so much.
No worries, and that's Jennifer Alvarado there, of course, joining us. Of course, if you check out her current song, which is Colorado, which is all on your favorite music streaming services, Spotify, Apple, and all those music streaming services. Of course, and of course, we'll check in on her in about late March about her latest one that she's got coming up very soon. There's more on the Smash Evening Show right after this. Don't go away here on the 15-year celebration.